Hospital morgue. What is the dumbest yet most impressive cause of death you ever came across? German backpacker in Australia was doing some work on a farm to make some money. He accidentally stepped on a crop harvester blade, and as he was reaching to free his foot, he cut up his hands. He left the wounds untreated, worked in muddy conditions, swamps, swam in livestock ponds, etc. He had both hands removed, and his foot the infection tracked to his lungs, and he ultimately died. He had no mates in Australia, not one person ever visited him. It would have been less stupid if he had been shredded up by the crop harvester, especially considering the farm he worked on had a medical and a veterinary clinic only a few minutes away. I don't know if he ended up dying, but a few years ago I was a volunteer at the Belgian Red Cross. I just turned 17 when this incident happened. So the 21st of July is a big day for the Red Cross, national holiday. A lot of injuries when you have thousands of people cramped in the sun, all watching the parade. A kebab seller forgot that his arms were full of snack oil and fat, I guess. The dumbass then wanted to light up a cigarette. Result: horrible burns on his right arm and chest, third-degree burns, literally barbecued. He was taken to the hospital. Don't know what happened after that. One of the most common causes of death at the Grand Canyon is the male instinct to urinate from high places. Men camping in the canyon go to pee off the edge of a ledge in the middle of the night, fall off, and die. Well, how else am I going to mark my territory? Local naturopathic doctor took some Chinese herb to cleanse herself or some BS, put herself in kidney failure. Husband finally calls 911 after she goes unconscious. At the hospital we're able to get her dialysis and bring her back around. Tell her with the right treatment we may be able to restore some kidney function, but if unable to that she could continue on routine dialysis and hopefully get a kidney transplant. Her response is that she doesn't believe in modern medicine and that it's poison. She left the hospital AMA to go home and treat herself with her own medicine. Her treatment didn't last long, the problem solved itself. My dad used to be the guy who picked up the bodies and took them to the morgue/funeral home. His most impressive was this guy who got his steering wheel through his chest. Guy was actually still alive when my dad got to the scene. He was called by a doctor who happened to be stuck in the traffic caused by said wreck, and came to render final aid. It was pure shock that was keeping the guy alive, and the fact that the steering column was holding everything in place. The doctor ended up pulling the guy off of the car, which killed him rather instantly. He hates talking about that story. That's rough right there. Knowing that the only way to save someone is to kill them, and having to be the one to do it. My grandfather died when he decided to go and lie down because he wasn't feeling very well. My grandmother asked, "Should I come with you?" To which he responded, "Go back and eat your food, I'm not having a heart attack." He was having a heart attack. While kinda humorous, sure, one of the symptoms of a heart attack is denial. People reject the idea of their life ending there and then so they pass it off as some kind of passing pain. If you ever feel a pressure in your chest that gradually gets worse, call 911 or get to the hospital as soon as possible. My grandfather told me about the day his father died, and it's somewhat similar. He wasn't feeling well. My great-grandmother was concerned and wanted him to see a doctor. He said it was caused by lack of cigarettes and made my great-grandmother go buy him a pack. He was dead by the time she got home. Don't work in a hospital, but I'm a cop so I have seen lots of deaths. Let me start by saying that I'm not telling this story to promote or endorse suicide. A few years ago we had a guy jump from one of our parking garages. That happens every now and then. What made it remarkable was how he did it. Witnesses say that he parked his car on the top level, got out and immediately sprinted toward the edge. When he got there, he dove over the wall without ever breaking stride. Most jumpers take a while to do it, but this guy was either dedicated, or he knew that he wouldn't do it if he went too slow. A young guy that I worked with on a mine site was driving around the pit in a light vehicle. Due to an insane amount of dust in the air, visibility was poor and the front of his vehicle was run over by a dump truck. He was still alive when emergency services attended the scene. The dashboard was crushed over his legs, cutting off the blood supply. As soon as they cut him free, the poisonous blood in his legs was able to travel through his body and he died. Is this where I mentioned that guy who tried to do homemade liposuction with a vacuum cleaner? Pretty sure he just sucked his organs out. My boss was a former cop who responded to a stiff dead body who sat on a plunger which impaled his intestines and he bled to death. It caused a suction effect and they had to break the toilet to remove him. Guy was in a very expensive suit too. Not a medical worker, in fact infantryman for the US Army. While I was in Iraq we had been approached by a village leader telling us about a sicko that had been kidnapping their kids and lighting them on fire while he got his jollies. We were told not around to let the police handle it. The police found him tied to a pole with his face burned off. Pretty sure he didn't live. I don't work in either of these professions and this story wasn't fatal. There used to be the Darwin Awards people would get if they died or become injured by dumb and funny ways. One I will never forget is this. Back when siphoning stealing gas out of strangers' vehicles was popular, a man hit jackpot. He soon had the hose attached and was ready to go. Unless you have some big fancy tool, the common way to get the gas to start pumping through the hose is by placing your mouth on the other end and suck in. It'll soon start flowing. So the man starts to suck in. Well, unfortunately for him, he had a mistake. One that was too late to fix. He attached this hose to the septic tank. A septic tank that was full and probably sitting there for a while. Don't work in either, but I knew someone who died because she wanted to lose weight but was too lazy to actually do the work, so she used tapeworms. On a bus, a young woman put her head by the windows despite being told repeatedly to not do so. She was hit by a sign and died.